Okay, everybody, it's the Arty 84 show live here. Episode 181, as always, to the right of me, Adam DeMallet, hanging out at Blockbuster Video, as
That's
usual.
right.
Tonight, we have a guest, comedian Mercer Morrison will be joining us, I believe, from California, which seems to be the trend of people doing our show. And what we're going to talk about today, you said you wanted to wait and talk, was it the crypto? That didn't talk about
The semiconductors, because we talked about the fuel prices, but no one's talking about how, like, we're in the middle of a semiconductor shortage, which is a
semiconductor in my pants.
It's a big deal because I mean
Sure
everything
is.
we use, from cell phones to televisions to cars, is relying on semiconductors. And there's also the same, because I guess the Chinese are 2-3 years behind us in semiconductor technology, and weapons too. It's another thing, but they're trying to upgrade their technology so they can pick up the technological pace. And a lot of countries are like, yeah, we really don't want you to do that. So
why does why are those abandoned cars sitting there at the plants that don't have microchips in? Where the chips coming from?
Taiwan Semiconductor, great company. They actually have they just opened a major facility in Arizona too. TSM. They're actually the biggest one in the world. Their chips are like the most state of the art. Nvidia is another one.
Do they have sour cream and barbecue, or is it just a standard semiconductor chip?
That's just their bread and butter.
I see. So why can't other people create semiconductors? Like, what's the problem?
They do. It's just I don't know what the cause of I forget the cause of the actual shortage and why it actually happened. It was just kind of an underestimate during the pandemic of like a slowdown, and now it's catching up. But they're saying it might not rectify itself till about like 2023.
Nothing like a rectum and a semiconductor all on the same page. It's funny because it's like you think, like a lot of the places didn't shut down overseas. You think there'd be a surplus of microchips, you know what I mean?
You would think so. Chip shortage.
Kind of fucked up though that like literally you build a car, like the Ford plant has all these cars and there's like thousands of them just sitting there that can't run because they don't have a chip in them.
Yeah. In fact, I'm reading right now, the chip shortage could have a $110 billion impact on the auto industry alone.
By the time you get the chips, the cars are going to be outdated. You're going to be selling 2022 models in 2023, and who the hell wants that?
You know what? This makes sense because I've been getting a lot of crap, more than usual, for, hey, let us buy your used car.
Yeah.
You've been seeing a lot of that lately.
Yep. Yeah, they want to get rid of the inventory because you know what's probably going to happen is if they're so backed up, why would you launch like the 2022 cars or the 2021 cars, or you just hold the chips and you just launch 2022 cars and use the chips from them?
You can't hold the chips because you got to update the technology because those chips will now become obsolete.
So you guarantee that you're going to see car models for the next year be very, very similar to the car models of this year because they're not going to change much because they're going to have to make sure the technology stays the same if there's a backup on the chip. You know what I mean? They're going to have to try to plan it ahead of time.
Samsung, Ford, everybody's hurting because of this. Like, it's the brain. It's pretty much the brain of your chip, you know?
Well, they always say
Apple.
Yeah, like if you ever want to have like a real terrorist attack, what you do is you do like one of those like electromagnetic pulses, and you could take out every electronic device in a matter of a second. The only things that would survive would be like old cars that don't use computer chips, like the old carburetor engines. Like those would be the only ones surviving. You'd have to like, I guess the starter or the distributor cap would blow a little bit, but I don't know if there's a way you could pull start your car or something like that. Well, a lot of those old cars too, if they're standard, you could just put them on a hill and roll it down the hill to start it too. So,
people out there invest in stocks. I recommend Taiwan Semiconductor or some of these other ones because their stocks are a little bit low right now, but they're just going to go back up. I mean, they're going to double.
Don't get confused with Taiwan Semis. That's a whole different website for a whole different type of people.
Yeah, probably.
Thailand Semis, those are even weirder. You don't even know if you're getting a boy or a girl. Kind of crazy. Yeah, it's fucking semiconductors. Bitcoin and semiconductors, big topic in the world today. But
it's huge.
Bitcoin dropped like what, $25,000.
Yeah, it hit to at one point it was, I think, at like 20. Yeah, about 25. Yeah,
so even more because it was the top. It was at 60, right? So like $35,000 fucking swing.
I understand why like older people aren't into this at all? And I understand, because think about it, they're old. Their investments are supposed to be safer.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. You understand. And I'm just using, and a lot of people like you and I just throw in cash, like small amounts, I guess you could
Not
say.
today.
It's kind of like you're playing with. It's like going to a casino, right? You give yourself a $200 budget to gamble, right? And you go and like, all right, I'll throw $200 on this cryptocurrency and see what happens and let it rate, because you figure if you go to a casino, you put $200 down on the table, you're gonna lose it anyways, right? If you don't win, so you might as well, at least Bitcoin, you have a better chance of getting some kind of return. And like I was saying before, like when I set my thing to just have like total return, so I know if I'm going under, if I know I'm losing money on it. So if I'm getting close to zero, and I just want to pull out, I just pull out, and let's call it a wash. You know what I mean? Like if you don't think it's going to go back up, you know what I mean? If you see this,
but that's the thing, it most likely will. But how much? But
you're playing with house money at that point. Yeah, I mean, maybe the Doji peaked at 70 cents. I don't know.
No, Doji didn't peak at all yet. Once Doji goes to Coinbase too, because Coinbase is the biggest in the world. So once it goes to there, it's gonna go up. It'll hit a dollar.
I think it's gonna hit $1. Yeah, $1, and then we'll see what happens from there. Elon Musk did do a good point about Doji. He did say because it's an unlimited amount that it can actually fluctuate with inflation, which is a lot different than the other Bitcoin, so that a value of it could actually mature in time due to the fact that it's connected to inflation. So it's not necessarily a bad thing, whereas Bitcoin is only a certain X amount out there that can ever be mined at any given time, right? So it's like a fixed. It's almost like gold, right? Once you run out of gold, the value of it obviously will get higher because there's less of it. But like at least with Doji, it's more like the dollar, right? It can actually inflate. So if it inflates from $1 to $2, well, it just works with inflation. But it's complicated because it's using the world's currency, right? So like
that's the slowest. That's slow, but the thing is, as of right now, apparently they're working on something to give it function. As of right now, Doji does very little in terms of an actual like utility. It doesn't do much. It was designed as a meme coin, as a joke, But they're working supposedly to give it smart contracts, which would operate on the blockchain. You're going to be hearing a lot about in the next like 20 years, from now to the next 20 years, you're going to be hearing a lot about blockchain technology. That is going to be the next thing. And that is why I'm so sold on ADA, because it's going to change the world. Yeah. Cardano is going to change the fucking world. I am so sold on that one.
What is that?
I tell you about ADA. It's the one that
what else is that type of currency?
Yeah, it's a cryptocurrency that the one that they're implementing in Africa.
The one that's making it work, right? Like it's actually applied to like infrastructure or something like that.
Yes, like that is an actual utility. That is an actual thing that it's being used for. Like that has a future. So that's why I am like looking at that. Like that is going to be something.
It gives you some movement right there.
Yeah.
Ooh, yes, movement.
Yeah. They're working on giving Doji function, which would obviously help it.
That'd be
according to Elon Musk. I don't know. He's fucking annoying. That whole Elon thing, it's going to drop off. Like his voice is going to eventually drop off because he does this so much. Like, I don't know if he does it. He might do it to pump his own money. Like maybe he's throwing shade at Bitcoin for it to go down so he can buy more.
Oh, probably. Wasn't China doing that kind of idea too? Like when you said it was a power outage? And
like a month ago, there was a dip in Bitcoin, and they found out, they traced it basically to like a huge drop, a power outage that happened in China, which was near a huge Bitcoin mining facility. But allegedly, China has been out of the Bitcoin game for a while, and they just recently said how it shouldn't be allowed in financial institutions. Chinese are fucking shady
to the people of China, but to the government people, I'm sure it's more likely to be used. And you're probably right. They're probably driving it down so they can just backdoor it and grab some more for a lower price too.
Oh, they'll do anything to try to undermine the U.S. dollar. They would do anything,
They own so much of the U.S. currency anyways, and they could crash this if they wanted to.
They're trying to develop the very first like digital cash currency. Like imagine you're like a dollar bill on your phone that you could exchange and I could give to you like that.
Wow.
They're working on their own currency, digital currency that they want to implement for the first time during the next Olympics that they have there.
It's weird though, because what's the difference between that and a debit card? I mean, because you technically, like if I get paid, I get a check. I never actually see the money. The money goes into my account. I go buy. I could send you money if you send you money. And
Yeah,
then
you can send me
put it-
Bitcoin right now. I have my own
Yeah, but
address.
I'm talking about like cash though. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like so
Yeah.
like the whole idea of having the dollar bill on the phone doesn't make much sense to me because it's basically that's happening anyways through a bank. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I'd have to look into it. I don't know much more than that, but it's in the works. You know, I mean, it could work in the sense like how I was just saying, like with Bitcoin in terms of how it's transacted. Like you could send it to my address, you know, on my, and here it is. They love to control everybody like more than we do. So I don't know.
Crazy over there.
Yeah.
Also, if you're watching on YouTube, we did put the link to the show on there, so you could actually call in if you like. You're more than welcome to join the Zoom and join the excitement that is the Arty 84 show with Mr. Adam over here. But it's about that time we bring in a guest. I think he's in California. Don't quote me, but ladies and gentlemen, all the way from somewhere, maybe my basement, comedian Mercer Morrison. How you doing, sir? What's up, brother? How you doing?
Hey, how's it going?
Good. How you doing?
Good. Where are you joining us from today? Are you in California?
Well, my lawyer says that I can't really disclose that information right now. No kidding. No, I'm joining from New York.
Oh,
nice.
Thank God.
I know.
Yeah.
California. Yeah.
Wait, why?
No, I'm just
California
kidding.
or what?
No, the last 5 guests we've had are all from California. And we were just kind of joking on because obviously we're Boston guys, so you know.
Yeah. I mean, how did that work out? Because it would be like
5 o'clock
2 p.m. where they are. 5 o'clock. Wow, yeah.
5 o'clock. Yeah.
That's not our problem.
That's not the weirdest thing. We had a girl from who was in South Korea, join us one day, and it was like
I was about to say North Korea, like that'd be pretty impressive. It was probably more of a cry for help than a podcast.
We were told them we were like blink twice if you're in trouble, and they're just kind of just a lot of blinking, not a lot of talking and stuff.
Oh yeah.
No, we had a girl.
It would have been traced, and she probably would have been executed right after.
Exactly. Like a lot of glitches. It looked like Geraldo Rivera was reporting. Yeah.
Well, she was joining us from the southern version of North, and I think it was like 8 a.m.
She was right on the line.
She was eating breakfast while she was joining us, which is whatever. It is what it is. So
yeah. Was she also a comic?
No, she was just a girl we met at a brothel, and we became friends with her and stuff like that. She was working she's a girl we used to work with back in the day.
Yeah. I mean, hey, but if it makes it interesting, I mean, did she was she also like, I guess one of the people at the brothel, or was she just like someone that you met that just so happened to be passing?
She was a mate. What do they call it? A madam? She was the madam of the brothel. She controlled all the.
Okay, all right.
Yes.
That's still.
We offered her $100 if she jumped the line at the DMC, but she wouldn't take us up on it. I go, can you get really close to it? I go, get as close as you can, and like take a picture of you, like maybe touching it. I'm like, I just want to see you like make everyone very uncomfortable at the time. You know what I mean? Like you're gonna do something that maybe you shouldn't do, and you get $100.
Yeah. Put your foot over the line, something.
Yeah. Go a while, but she didn't want to do it. She's actually she's back home now.
Yeah, but that. Back home now and safe. Hopefully. She's not on the little security list.
She probably got the pill.
Yeah, am I coming in?
Yeah, it's a little choppy.
Wait, am I coming in okay?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Yeah. I'm trying to like close out of some windows that maybe might help my connection with you guys. So
yeah, if you're looking at mature porn, make sure you don't share the window with us, or if you can. We don't object to anything on the show.
I mean, I feel like you guys are looking at my computer because that's exactly what I was doing. That's how I prep for podcasts, is just lots of mature porn.
We have a guy in our office that looks at that a lot, and there was a period of time where he was coming in early just to peruse that.
Is that story true?
Is
that story really true?
Very true. A girl at our office. There was a problem with her computer. The IT guy came in, and he was looking at the history, and it was mature gay porn was what the guy was looking at when he was in the office earlier.
You remember that time I was in the office, and I sent you a picture that was I was working on a weekend. And I sent a picture of the junk mail that was in the thing. It was from mail order brides.
That's right. Yeah.
And someone had been looking at stuff for mail order brides.
Wow, shit.
Who has
there was a guy at one of my old jobs who kind of did the same thing, and we found out like whoever the IT person was leaked his little like porn handle, and it was Red Hot Gorilla.
Nice.
And so for a while, that was our inside joke, is we would just say Red Hot Gorilla. Like sometimes we would say like, it's like, was that like his safe word? Like, how did he come up with Red Hot Gorilla? But and he was one of the manager's son. It's like, that's what happened. So they like switched him to another place last I heard. But yeah, that's yeah, I'm trying to keep it as vague as possible. I don't want to get anyone in trouble.
Oh, I don't blame it, but it's fucking hilarious. Red Hot Gorilla. I might start using
Red Hot Gorilla. I couldn't believe it.
I was convinced at my old job.
That guy was me. Okay.
I was convinced at my old job. Nobody believed me, but I'm like 99% sure that somebody was jerking off in one of the stalls on a regular basis. Because I would hear the sound of like one hand clapping. Like there's no other there's no reason to be hearing this noise in a stall.
No. Usually not.
Unless it's just really sloshy shit.
Yeah. It was fucking. It was like the old guy who was like kind of quiet, who'd work in the warehouse. It was really bizarre.
You can't do it at home. His wife asked too many questions.
Yeah, I feel like those are the ones you actually have to look at.
Yeah, he probably has dial-up at home too, so it's very, very hard for him to even get a couple pitches up. Anyways, no one watch video, you know. But so, Mercer, yeah. Are you from?
Oh wait, could you repeat that?
So are you from New York? Or are you just kind of a transit person to that location?
I'm originally from Florida. The weird thing is that I'm originally from Northwest Florida, from Pensacola, and then I lived in Mississippi for a bit, and then now I'm up in New York. And are you guys born and raised in Massachusetts or what?
Oh, yeah. We've never left. We've actually been prisoners of this place for quite some time. So
I was about to say, it sounds pretty regretful, that you guys are like, oh yeah, we're still here. You never once thought about moving, like maybe packing up and going out west or anything?
I moved to DC for 6 months, and that was a regret. I immediately moved back to Boston. And the thing with people from Boston is like it's really, if you're gonna leave, the only time you really leave is when you go retire in Florida, and that's the only time you permanently, you go on vacation and stuff, but you always come back. But when you decide you're gonna throw in the towel, it's usually you're 65 years old and you go into Fort Lauderdale.
Yeah, it's a great place to die. I would say it's a great place to die. Like that. Matter of fact, that's what they should print on all like the brochures, is that it's a great place to die. And that's what my friend and I were discussing, because I think our city in Florida was like one of the #1 retirement communities, and we just both turned to each other. It's like, that's just saying that it's a great place to die, but it is. I mean, like I would love to like croak my last image just be of like the beach and the waves rolling in, instead of like being old in New York and watching like some homeless man take a shit on the sidewalk. That's not what the last image I want to be is. I want it to be like the serene, peaceful beach.
Make it the state motto. Yeah.
You kind of lived your life backwards. You kind of started retired and you're working your way into living your life. It's kind of funny.
Maybe, yeah. And then by 85, I'll be like some weird starving artist or something like that. Like just completely doing it backwards. But yeah, like it's, I mean, I just, yeah, but have you guys ever, either of you, like lived in a small town? You kind of want the big life, you want really. Like the bigger, better life.
We both grew up like literally like 10 minutes outside of Boston. So like there's no, I live in a small town now, even further outside the city. But like I grew up, it was pretty much, we had airplanes that landed over our houses kind of type thing from the airport. You know what I mean? So
if I could afford it, I would have defected ages ago.
I love how you say defected, like you were some Viet Cong member. Like,
not defected. I would have left this fucking country. I mean, I can't. People like, if you hate to get out of this country, it's like I can't afford it. Like I can't afford.
Same here. I have like some friends that grew up in some affluent families, and they're like, yeah, I was living in LA and then I got bored and now I'm in Paris. And I'm like, I wish I could just do that shit. I wish I could get bored and literally uproot my whole life and move to another country, but I can't. Like I could maybe move.
Exactly.
Maybe El Salvador or Guatemala. You probably go. Dollar could stretch a bit, but then you.
Dude, like. I've read like a lot of, I mean, I feel like it's kind of creepy because it is like the older people that do like just go to like, Costa Rica and Guatemala and they just like retire down there, which I don't know if it's like comfortable to retire down there, but it also just seems weird, you know.
We had a guy on the
Because
show.
I don't know if it's because I don't know if it's like if the police force is, you know, I don't know how that is all down there. I haven't really looked into it, but you know, it might be an option, especially in a few years, because I feel like, you know, the U.S. is kind of up shit creek right now. So
I looked into it. I did some fucking research because I was like, okay, where would I hypothetically go? If now I understand sacrifices have to be made. Nothing's perfect. You know what I mean? Like you're going to sacrifice this for this somewhere else. And in this case, it would have been climate, because I did, after doing the research, I saw like Norway, Sweden, Denmark, New Zealand. These are like the happiest fucking places where people just want to be left alone. They do their shit. They get along in the community. And that just sounds great.
no, that does sound awesome. Was that somewhere that you would want to retire, as like one of those European countries, or what?
I don't know about retire, but like the age I am now, I just feel like, you know, it's up and coming. They're generating more money. Like it's smaller, it's more quaint. Nobody fucks around. Like right now, that is where I'd want to be. You know?
Yeah.
Yeah, not me.
To me, I mean, like, yeah, but I don't know. Like, I can't take too many. I don't know how your guys' winter was, but I don't know if I could take another winter up north. Like, that's one thing. Like, I always keep saying that every year. I can't take another winter, and then
so do we.
I end up staying.
Yeah, that's about right. It's about what we do too. I just don't know how you stay in New York City with the state of the fucking city. Is it as bad as it looks like on the news? Like it looks like it's like.
Here's the thing. I definitely stayed with my mom during the pandemic. I went down like for the first part, like during the summer. I went down, and I will say Florida is like, you know, they always say that like Florida is like the Australia of America. I don't know if you guys have ever heard that phrase.
No, I didn't. But that's.
I feel like that's an unfair comparison, because Australia has laws and rules, you know, things that Florida doesn't. Yeah, it's cleaner.
Hepatitis.
It's cleaner. People actually, but it was kind of bad. Like I don't know how it was in Boston, but it just seemed like as close to sort of an apocalyptic scenario as you could get without actually having to get into the apocalypse. Like, I mean, places that you would normally see throngs of people, Times Square, Grand Central, all those places. It was literally like that Will Smith movie, I Am Legend. It was freaky, especially in the beginning. And then at some point it just became a normal part of life. But I feel like especially during the summer, we just got tired of it. And, you know, people were having like secret parties and backyard barbecues and everything like that. And so I don't know, how did Boston do it? How did you guys fare? Did you stay in it as long as we did?
No, I mean, I refused to stay in the entire time. So I was fine. Like, we were doing a lot of New Hampshire traveling because New Hampshire was wide open. So.
Well, you guys have cars, right?
Yeah, yeah, exactly. New York, you kind of stuck. Boston wasn't so bad. Downtown was kind of like what you would describe New York being as, like where the touristy areas would be lively and stuff. It was kind of scary. And I took a video one day. I was walking down one of the financial streets, which would be busy as hell, like on a Wednesday, like at 3 or 4 o'clock, and it was like ghost town. Like a tumbleweed was going down. It was kind of freaky. But like if you go into the burbs, Boston had their own kind of restrictions, but the burbs kind of loosened up a little bit. And then if you got into like Rhode Island or New Hampshire, which seems like another state so far away, it's really only like 25 minutes away in reality. Everything was wide open. New Hampshire never really hit a bump. It was pretty much game on.
There's like 2 people living in New Hampshire, right? Like there's hardly anyone like to really quarantine.
Well, they're all from Massachusetts too. They all just travel up over the border. That's basically.
Yeah, I was about to say, like, probably everyone lives along the border for like tax breaks and stuff, and then they all travel in to and from work.
I tell you this, I live in Mass, but I live like 20 minutes, 15, 20 minutes from the border. I do all my shopping, and there's no sales tax in New Hampshire. I do all my shopping up there. I buy everything up there. I spend all my money up there, restaurants, everything like that. And it's basically like a fuck you to overtax Massachusetts, because you know what? If I have the opportunity, you're technically supposed to claim that on your tax return every year. Like, I purchased a $3,000 TV in New Hampshire. You go, fuck yourself.
Hey, I wouldn't admit that on this podcast. People might.
No, if you're watching this podcast, you know I can't afford a $3,000 TV.
The FBI is like, this guy looks a little too cheap to be saying that price. We gotta mark that off.
I mean, my green screen. It's basically a tablecloth that I got at Party City, sitting behind me. So if it's not too complex,
if it works, hey, if it works, it works. I mean, I have so many friends that did the same thing. Like they would buy like lime green lime green sheets that they found at some fabric store and made that their green screen and stuff, because that's like 10 times cheaper than an actual green screen.
Yeah, I had poster board.
Yeah,
I use green poster board.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what you got. I have an actual green screen. Actually, I found that shit on sale on Amazon, so that was awesome. But yeah, like all my other friends, like they make do. They also buy, like, instead of like studio lights, they buy like hardware lights, like painter's lights, because they work literally just as well. Like people doing construction and stuff, they literally just work as well as like studio lights and stuff. But we're dealing with the same problem. Yeah, we're dealing with the same problem with like overtaxation here, because we got state tax, local tax, and I think another type of tax. But yeah, like people were leaving New York even before, just because of like how fucking high the property tax and everything was. People were going anywhere. Like people, that's why a lot of people go to Florida. The taxes there are way less, and also Pennsylvania, because New Jersey is getting fucked as well, and I'm sure Connecticut. So I don't even know. So, but again, like with the pandemic, like it just got to the point where we all just got tired of it by summer. We thought this was going to be like at most a 2-month thing, and then by summertime we were just like, fuck it. And the cool thing was that all these bands were like starting to play in like local parks and stuff. So we would just buy drinks from the convenience or from a grocery store, and we would just like lay a picnic blanket out, and then we would just pretty much get hammered right there in the park. So
that's the way to do it.
That's the way, but that's literally the only way we could do it, unless you wanted to like find a secret party. But those would always get busted up. If you found out about it, more than likely they've been having it for like a few weeks, but those would always get busted up, and you didn't want to be a part of that. I don't know if you guys had anyone that got busted at a secret party or anything.
So we had secret comedy shows that were popping up a little by little. But like I said, it wasn't too strict. Like a lot of people just did stuff out of the city limits and like went to the burbs, and it was kind of like, people kind of look the other way. I mean, every once in a while I get that one Karen that's calling up, there's too many cars parked in. So, I mean, I had a super spreader event for my kid's birthday party. We had 50 people at my house in December. And we were telling people to park all around the neighborhood to kind of spread out the amount of cars onto the street. But, at the end of the day, it was like no one bothered us, but if you were closer to the city, we probably would have gone. We have this thing called, I think it's called not 411. It's called like 311 in Boston. And it's non-emergency calls. I think New York City probably has the same thing. You call it pretty much to rat people out.
I think it's either like it's either 311 or 411.
Yeah. And you basically you say like, so every morning this radio show in Boston would go through the list, and it would all be these Karens ratting out, these kids are they're up past 9 o'clock and they're having a party on the roof deck and they're not wearing masks, and it would be just like, and like, that's so annoying. I've talked to a few police officers, and they were just like, the most annoying part about this whole entire thing was these stupid calls, and you have to show up, and then you go there and you really don't want to show up to like bust out a Christmas party with a bunch of people from a family, and you're like, just keep it down, and what are you going to do? You don't want to be that guy. You really want to go to someone's house on Thanksgiving and be like, tell grandma she has to go into the basement because there's a party going on. You know what I mean?
That's the thing. And half of them, I mean, I will say this, that like, it was good for like the world to shut down for a little bit. However, I feel like the Karens and all the cancel culture people, like those are the people that intensified, because there was nothing else to do. Like everyone was just wanting like more controversy and more drama to happen. And if they found any inkling like that, like I'm sure the kids weren't even that loud, but because there was nothing else going on, that's how they like really stuck with it and just wanted.
No, I can't quote this. I can't quote this enough. Like Joe Rogan hit the nail on the head. He said it best. He said, we expected like a lot of people to die, and then when they didn't, we didn't readjust, like in terms of like what we put in play, like in terms of like we didn't readjust and take away these restrictions. Like we expected all this to happen, put it in play, didn't happen, but we kept it there. And it's true. That's exactly what happened. We didn't change anything.
I mean, we luckily didn't experience nowhere near the catastrophe and the casualties of European countries. Or anything like that. Thank God. But I feel like the pandemic was kept for most likely political reasons. Let's call a spade a spade.
I think everyone can agree on that, no matter what side you're on. I think that's basically they didn't let a good pandemic go to waste one way or another.
Yeah, well, I knew at some point, I remember when it first started, I was like, I feel like it's only going to be a matter of time before it's used for like political purposes and gain. And then, you found out later, like Gavin Newsom was, funneling money to like his little schemes and everything like that. Meanwhile, keeping everyone under lockdown in LA and San Francisco and everything like that. I mean, and plus that state had been fucked over all. I feel like it was about 2 months before then that there was like wildfires literally running through. I was like, dude, California is having a rough go of it. But yeah, and God Almighty, I don't know if you've seen our mayor or governor.
Oh, he's a great people.
Talking.
Yeah.
Oh, the best. Yeah, I believe every word they say, everything they do, every action. Yeah. De Blasio talking to us like we're a bunch of 5-year-olds saying, oh, if you get your shot, you get free fries. He literally said that in one press conference.
Yeah.
I could not believe it. It was like he's literally talking to us like this is Sesame Street or something. This is fucking crazy.
My favorite is Como asking himself questions when he does a speech. He's like, is it bad today? Sure, it's bad today. Are people going to die? Sure, people are going to die.
He really does talk like, I hated when him and like Trump were feuding. It's like, this is literally one egotistical mob boss talking to another egotistical mob boss.
Basically. Yeah.
And plus, didn't you love how Cuomo was writing a book the whole time as well? Like he was writing some book. It's like, dude, like people are dying in your state. You're supposed to have no time to write a book right now.
Well,
but somehow he did. Somehow he was able to.
So I heard he was using staff members who were on the state payroll to actually write most of the book for him while he's there. So that's even better.
And probably those staff members had like a lot to do with the pandemic. So they're like, no, I need to actually do. It's like, no, don't fucking stop that. It's like, you write my goddamn book right now. And so he probably did that. It was probably all those staffers were in charge of the nursing homes. And that's what happened.
They dropped the ball. He's like,
yeah, that's what probably fucked them over. Yeah.
But I'm supposed to protect the nursing home.
How many seem fair for you guys? Like, what now?
No, up in Massachusetts, we were pissed off at our governor a bit, but he kind of he tried to be like a Como in the beginning, and then he realized he was getting so much resistance, he kind of pulled back a little bit. So he kind of like disappeared for a little bit and didn't start saying much. And then like the other day when the CDC came out with all the restriction drops, 2 days later we got a press conference from him, and he looked like he was going to cry because I think he enjoyed this whole lockdown. Like he looked very sad, like that things were going back. He kept stressing the new normal, and we were like, there's no fucking new normal. It's just going to go away and things are going to be back to normal. We're not going to be walking around with masks. If you want to wear a mask, go right ahead. Hey, I'm all about it. If you want to get vaccine, you want to wear a mask, knock yourself out. Not my cup of tea. But hey, I'm not going to tell you can't do it, and I don't really care. We're adults. We can make decisions on our own. But like the governor was so upset that he didn't have that power to tell people what they could do anymore, and he's like, "This seems so sad." It's like someone took away his favorite toy.
That's the thing that worries me about all these politicians and stuff, because it's mayors, it's governors, it's just all these people that do have like political power, and yeah, very rarely are you seeing like maybe the governor of Texas was the only one, but all of them like get like weirdly sad and nostalgic whenever like all these restrictions get loosened and stuff. And it's like, did you have fun during all this? Like as we were like miserable and depressions and suicides started to climb. Like you really like, are you getting off on that? Like what the hell is going on?
I mean,
but I think it's because that they had the power.
Who doesn't like power? I mean, when you get a little bit of power, most people will ride it to the end. You know what I mean? So like, and usually, when you really hear from your governor, right? When there's a national emergency or something, like you hear like his conferences every once in a while, but he's never really in the spotlight, right? And now every day you hear him from every governor of every state, and all of a sudden they're like rock stars, right? And everyone's listening to them, and they're feeding into their ego and making them feel like they're bigger than life. And then at the end of the day, it's like, even I think Fauci had the same kind of egotistical thing going on too. Like now all of a sudden you're not going to, like, did you hear from Fauci for the last 40 years? I've never knew he even existed. And all of a sudden pops out.
I didn't know either.
So it's like, I can understand it. It's like anyone who's in show business, right? You're a little bit of fame, and then all of a sudden it gets taken away, and you're doing everything to hold on for that little bit, like the Brady Bunch people, and like keep doing their reunions because they just
God. And then you end up on Cameo. It's awful.
You're right.
You do a Thanksgiving special.
Exactly. I completely understand that mentality of it. Not that it's right or not, but I can understand where people are coming from. And you put away all the right ways to do stuff aside because you're now feeding the need to keep the attention, which, I mean, anyone put in front of a camera for more than 5 seconds has that same effect. You know what I mean? So
Mhm.
I understand the psychology behind that, but I also don't understand that you are an elected official and you're supposed to be representing the country or the people of your country or your district or whatever. So you should be doing what's in best interest for them. So not doing what's in best interest for you is actually just making you a terrible person of your job. You're not doing your job right, you know? And I don't know.
Yeah, that's true.
It just sucks. It's like, you know, it just, like, you look at Florida. I was in Texas a couple weeks ago. I was at a baseball game with 41,000 people, and the
Yeah.
mask, they tell you they had signs. There was a lot of Boston fans down there for the Sox game, and they were playing the Rangers. And you walk in, you see all these Red Sox jerseys, and people got the mask on. They're doing the right thing. And then by the 7th inning, few beers in, mask are off. It's like you're at an old school baseball game. Everything's back to normal and stuff.
Yeah.
And I've been
All
back.
inhibitions out the window.
Yeah, and it's like then you walk out of the stadium, and there's a nightclub right there, and people are grinding up against each other, making bad decisions, getting all sexual and stuff like this. And I'm here with my wife and kid looking over and be like, "Oh, can't go in that place tonight," you know? Continue on the journey. But no, but seriously, but it's like, it's funny because you look at it, it's like, oh, everything's back to normal, and it's like, but then I go back to Massachusetts, same country, and it's just like I'm like in Nazi Germany, you know, like, I'm gonna walk through this, can't do this. It's like what happened? Like what's the disconnect? You know what I mean?
It's all mostly the northeastern thing because I literally because I went down to visit my or see my mom in May of last year, like whenever the pandemic like really started, and so for like 2 months I was like in the thick of the pandemic. And I literally felt like Dorothy going from black and white into Technicolor, like whenever I went from New York, because I literally went to God, what was it, Newark Airport? Nobody there. I literally felt like that my driver had dropped me off on a movie set of an airport. Like there was literally nobody there, and it freaked me out. I was like, "Is this place even open?" And I didn't see a single soul until I got to like the security gate and stuff. Like I just followed the arrows and went there, and it was frightening. But you know, when I went down to Florida, everyone was partying. People were on boats. Most restaurants were open. You would sometimes you would go to restaurants and they would be social distancing, but for the most part, I feel like they were in the pandemic for like a month, and then they decided to, you know, forego that, you know, because I think the governor was smart enough to be like, well, if I keep this shit closed, all these businesses are going to go out of business, and that's what New York's suffering from now.
Yeah. And you're looking at Florida, which majority of the income comes from tourism. You know what I mean? When people go to retire, when people go to visit, you know, and you take away restaurants and anything that's fun. I mean, Disney, I always look at Disney like being like the mafia, right? So you could really set the tone for the rest of the country based on what Disney does. So if Disney tomorrow says, like, they already started doing that with the restrictions of the mask being lightened. If Disney tomorrow says, hey, listen, no mask for anyone, you're going to start seeing other places do it because they make so much money for this. You know what I mean? Yeah. So it's like, you got to look at them as kind of like the test, right? So I think they closed, the one in Florida only closed for, I think, a couple months. That wasn't too bad for them.
It actually closed for a while. Like it closed for a lot longer than I thought. I forget when it opened back up, but yeah, it closed for a bit.
Which is crazy for Disney, right? Because I mean, they're opened 365, right? I mean, they closed maybe for a day during a hurricane, and then are back open the next day. They have kites and trees and stuff, you know. And you know, it's like, it's funny. Like they're like, they're not, if you're the governor of a state and you get this company that's making billions of dollars for you, right? How are you going to tell them they can't make billions of dollars for you? You know what I mean? They employ so many people.
That's why I was surprised at what New York did, because it's like, you know, so many tourist dollars come, and then, you know, there was also no bailout for any restaurants. Like, I felt so bad because one of my friends literally opened a restaurant in December of 2019, and I think I don't want to ask them.
Yeah.
But I think it failed because you know, whenever I see their Instagram stories, they're actually back at their old job of bartending, and I feel so bad because this was like a joint restaurant venture between her and a bunch of other people, and I'm just like, fuck, like so many people's dreams like that they wanted to do just because of some fuck governor that wanted to keep it going more because he wanted the egotism and power. He wanted to control people.
Right.
He wanted to pretty much have his own Gestapo.
And that's the best part about New York. It's the restaurants. You know, you go to New York, you can do anything. You can do anything you do in New York anywhere else in the world. But it's the restaurants, the food, the neighborhoods, all the nightlife, all the stuff you do when you're walking around. You grab a beer there. And every neighborhood's a little bit different. They all get their little pubs. They all get the restaurants, you get the flavor. And that's all I like going to New York. I love Manhattan. You're walking around. Depending on what part of the city you is, you have all these great places to visit. And you take that away, and, you know, you have 80,000 restaurants just on one island. And now who knows how many survived this, right? Maybe a fraction of that. And then you look at, you know, all the fucking crime that's going on in the city and all this stuff, and then you have a screwball mayor. I go to my wife. I'm like, I used to love going to New York. I mean, living in Boston, you can get to New York in 4 hours on a bus, and we used to do it all the time. Like, and you could go there for the day, then take the bus home that night and spend 12 hours in the city. And this is something I did tons of times. And I looked at her and I go, I don't feel safe bringing my kid to the city. And like, it's not what we remembered it being, as, you know, it's more like what our parents remembered New York being back in like the 70s with, like, you know,
I don't know if it would be that bad. Did your parents either of your parents ever visit New York in the 70s?
My dad did. Yeah, Times Square was all the porn theaters and stuff.
Yeah, my parents literally said, and you're talking about like two people raised in the mountains of Kentucky that came down to Florida, like very like quaint, almost Quaker-esque people. And my dad told me that him and my mom went to a showing of Annie, and they just like literally went into the theater because I think they were running late. They said he walked out and noticed literally on the opposite side of the street was nothing but porno theaters. Yeah. It was like, I'd never seen that before. And then he said walking out of their hotel, they saw a pimp beating a hooker. And they were just like, what the hell? Like, just, again, the craziest, like, and I remember I saw Taxi Driver. That was a movie that I caught during the pandemic.
Yeah.
And I was just like, God damn, I hope New York doesn't go. Because there are some scenes where he's walking along the street and it is scary as shit. I'm just like, I hope it does not go. Because if it goes back to that, then I'm leaving. I can't take it out for that.
And like 10 years ago, when we used to go to New York all the time for like school trips and stuff. So we're talking about like early 2000s, right after 9/11. So when they closed down all the porn theaters in Times Square, they moved them over to 8th Avenue. So pretty much between like 40th and 50th on 8th, right around, you know, the Port Authority, everything like that. All those buildings over there were like peep shows and porn theaters. And I remember going on a class trip, and we were staying at the Milton Hotel, which is between 42nd and 43rd, I believe, on 8th. And I'd go out and we'd just walking around and be popping in all these theaters. And then outside the Port Authority, you would see basically that scene of hookers and pimps just hanging out, all trying to hustle you and stuff like this. And I'm like, I personally, I enjoy that. I thought it was very nostalgic. I like the old school feel of the old days, because when we grew up in Boston, there was this district called the Combat Zone, which was long gone before Adam and I were even old enough to go into the city by ourselves. This was like the 80s and, you know, early 90s.
Bill Gates loved it.
Bill Gates did love it, actually. He used to go all the time when he was in Harvard.
Wait a minute, Bill Gates went?
Oh, yeah. Apparently, it came out that he was a big fan of the Combat Zone. It was this district in Boston. It was all porn theaters. And now the porn theaters is kind of irrelevant because you can just get it online. Who's going to an actual theater to jerk off? When you because the Taxi Driver, he goes through a porn theater, and the girl that I was dating at the time, we both watched it together, and we both remarked like how pointless that would be now. And plus, you can't. I mean, like, I wouldn't jerk off in there anyway because it's just a bunch of fucking guys doing that. But you watch it, you like get the memories in your head, then you go and home and you jerk off. That's so many steps. I went to one once in my life in Montreal before Montreal cleaned up. We're talking like I was 18 years old. We're up in Montreal because you could drink, and literally it's like from New York to Boston, it's like 5 hours away, and you can drink at 18. And me and my buddies go up there, and right on St. Catherine Street, there was all these peep shows and porn theaters and strip clubs and stuff that was all accessible to an 18-year-old innocent mind from Boston. So we walked into this theater, and it was like an old movie theater. There was seats, there was rows, and there was just like nonstop pornography being showed. And there was people in trench coats, and people were all spread out and sitting around. God. And like you sit down in the seat, and after you sit down, you realize like, I don't know if I want to sit in this thing. And you're like looking around, and you're with two of your buddies, and you're watching porn on TV, and you're looking at each other like, do you really want to be here? And like, and then there's people like you can tell what they're doing in the back. It was just you know, it seemed outdated at the time. You know, it was something you didn't need to do anymore because technology is already at that point where you can do it literally in the bathroom at your work, like Adam's old coworker. You know,
Adam's old coworker. He's taking his whole pervertedness on the road. Adam's coworker.
Right. Yeah. So
he's going mobile with it.
Mercer, I want to get a comedy here now. We've been talking about this, and I just started diving into
this. Is not comedy gold? Okay.
It is, but I started diving into some stuff here, and I just kind of came across something here.
It's a TikTok sensation.
I just have to jump in here. So how exactly did you become a Charlie Sheen impersonator?
I didn't become a Charlie Sheen impersonator, but because I don't know which website you're on right now. Probably Gig Salad. I'm thinking.
Well, I just kind of came across this. It's impressive.
So back in 2011, whenever the whole, and I feel like I need to delete that thing, but back in 2011, whenever the whole Charlie Sheen Tiger Blood thing came out, my friends encouraged me cash in on that any way that I could. And we did like a look-alike video. I forget a couple of other things we did, but we tried our best. And I think whenever even the Charlie Sheen roast came up,
I love this.
Got the number of an executive. I got the number of an executive at Comedy Central, and I called her up, and she was just like, I was like, hey, I'm a Charlie Sheen impersonator. It's like, yeah, you're like the 50th person that's called me saying that they're a Charlie Sheen impersonator. So then, I just I gave her my info, because she like heard me out and then hung up. And then the only other time it came in handy was in 2016. One of my friends was casting. I don't know if you've seen like those crappy celebrity recreation shows.
Yeah, You're Dressed as Wild thing.
What now?
That's a good one.
Oh yeah. So
your mom.
My friend booked me to be on this show. God, what was it called? It was. I think it was just called like Dark Sides of Hollywood, something like that. It's one of those things that airs on like, Oxygen at like, 3 in the morning. And she was like, we've done an episode on OJ. We've done an episode on Elvis. Now we're going to do an episode on Charlie Sheen. And they flew me down to Knoxville, Tennessee for 2 days of filming. Let me see if I can find the photo. I'll try to like put it up to, put it up to the screen of like, because I literally got like hair and makeup and everything like that to look like Charlie Sheen.
I like the TikTok you did where you're like, oh, my mom took a picture of Charlie Sheen, and then it's like,
but the funny thing is that no one gets it, or like I hate people that like don't get the joke. They're like, wait a minute, that's Carrie Green from blah blah, because that's the actress's name. I'm like, yeah, no shit, like I'm just doing a joke, like but
no, it's really good.
I don't know if you can see this. This is me in
makeup. I'm looking at that photo here too. You look like a coked out Charlie Sheen.
Yeah. So what they did was like, the makeup people, like they put circles under my eyes, and then they did that. And there was a part in the recreation where I actually had to like snort coke, which was powdered milk, but that still sucked. They were like, we're only going to do this in one take. That's awesome. I was like, okay. And I did it. And like, they had to like break for like 30 minutes because like my nose was just like killing me.
Jesus.
But I got paid pretty well for it. But yeah, now that his star has faded and now he's like clean and sober and boring, I don't really do that much.
And has HIV apparently. So
HIV, yeah. Which people were saying that to me in the comments. They're like, hey, you may want to get tested for that in HIV. I'm like, this was like in 2013 that he was diagnosed with HIV. This is not now. Which, when that happened, that was sort of a resurgence, and I started getting invited on podcasts to beat Charlie Sheen.
There you go. I like I when you said you were from Florida, I should have knew that because I was looking at your TikTok video earlier. The one where you do some girls like move to Mobile, Alabama. They say, like I'm from Pensacola, Florida. I'm like 45 minutes away. No one's ever said that. No one's.
I was so surprised when she said that because it just seems like I don't know if any of you guys have like been into either of those areas.
Oh, I have. And Mobile, Alabama is not a place that's on my list to say, hey, you know what? I think I'm going to move down there.
No, which maybe that's her small town. Maybe her principal at her high school told her that, but like no one in their right mind would be like, move to. I would never encourage. Maybe for rehab, I would encourage, but other than that, no.
She would have to be from a small town in the middle of like northwestern Alabama, and then that's the big city to them. If you're not going to Birmingham, you're going to Mobile. We got to go to Mobile. To the beach.
God, I think it's Birmingham. I really think it's like Birmingham or bust. But then again, Mobile is kind of like it's an okay-ish town. Like I think it would be an okay place to raise a family, but if you're like a young single person, I don't think it's a good place. Yeah.
The only
great place to settle and raise kids, though.
Yeah, the only time I've been to Mobile, we were driving from we were actually staying in Panama City. We were driving to New Orleans on a spring break trip, and we stopped in Mobile for lunch. After you took that tunnel that goes underneath like the harbor or something like that, and you pop up, we stopped for lunch in some downtown area, and it was just like, that's Mobile, Alabama. All right.
And that's all you saw the best part of Mobile. That's great. The downtown, it's literally the downtown area, and that's it.
So yeah, this is cool. There's water
which I feel like is most of those places. It's just like when someone goes to Pensacola, I recommend the beach, I recommend downtown. And that's it. That's really it.
We stopped in Pensacola on that trip, and I was gonna say that is the most beautiful sand I'd ever seen in my life. It was right outside the naval. There's a naval station.
Air station,
air station. And we were about like a mile away, and you could see it from where we're at the beach and stuff. And it was like, wow, this is beautiful. We were there literally for 15 minutes. We went down off I-10, seen the beach, took a picture, made a joke, said I'm from Revere, which is the first public beach in the country up here in Massachusetts. We took a picture and we're like, oh, we're in Revere Beach in March, and we were really in Pensacola. Only 5 people got the joke. It was funny. And then we went back in the car and continued on that way. And my buddy was like, that's a really nice sand. He's like, I really like that sand. He's like,
I'm gonna go this weekend. You're like, no, wait, don't go.
He's like, I took some of the sand. I hope they let me bring it home. It was my buddy Joey. Adam knows Joey. He scooped up some sand in a water bottle, and it's like his souvenir from Pensacola Beach.
Oh, gee. What is he gonna do with it? I don't know.
At it.
I've seen people collect rocks and everything like that. I mean, the advantage of being from a beach town, but although it does get pretty cold there, like whenever I am down and like if it's the winter, there was a couple of times where I would go to the beach, even in like 40, 50 degree weather, and I would still like take off my shirt and just get a quick beach pic and just post it on Facebook. They'd be like, I'm enjoying the sand, and everyone up north is like, fuck you, but little do they realize it's about as cold as it is down there.
Well, it's funny because we're both we both grew up in a beach town, just in the wrong beach at the wrong time, because apparently we could do that in my town for probably 3 months of the year. And once in a while, we'd go down to like the beach in like January when it was like maybe like 40 degrees to like get a blowy on the sand because no one would be on the beach late at night. So it's one of those things you can kind of scoot away and stuff like that. Since then, the fun has ended because they put parking meters there. Now you got to pay to go to the beach. Who the fuck wants to do that?
No.
But back in high school, it was quite the place to go. So I understand like the beach town thing and taking off your shirt. Like if I took my shirt off in November and posed at the beach, people just think I was an asshole. What you did, people just think you're on vacation, or just
people. I mean, that's the advantageous thing. And sometimes I remember it would get down to like the 30s, and sometimes I would venture out there, and you would see like the weird European families, I guess from like Nordic countries that are fine with that, but they would literally be out in like swim trunks and bikinis and stuff because they're used to that type of shit. Yeah. I was amazed. I thought they were doing like some Fear Factor challenge.
Northern Florida is very deceiving because I always tell my wife, I go, unless you go like south of Tampa. And in the wintertime, you're really not going to get hot weather all the time. Like if you go anywhere north of Tampa, you're going to get like we were in Daytona in March, and it was like it hit 72, and that was nice. You know what I mean? But I'm like, that's about as hot as we're going to get in March. You know what I mean? And like, it's not like exactly tropic up the northern part of the state. And
because I mean, I was there during the holidays as well during the winter, and there was like a couple of nights where like we had to like shut off our water meters and stuff like that because it would get like pretty cold,
Yeah.
And so, but like I have a few friends like down in Miami, but like it's almost always hot and sunny every single day. So we do get different weather. But Adam, are you finding anything else about me?
He's digging deep into the act.
I know when you get nervous
for a job.
I think you did. Did you do a movie review for Power Rangers?
I did. I used to do movie reviews. I mean, I still kind of do, but
me too. Yeah.
This was me. This was when I was trying to like find like a vehicle through social media, whether it was YouTube and everything.
That's cool.
Like that.
All this is cool stuff. It's like you got to try shit. You
gotta. I'm sure you guys have. Yeah, you guys have probably done the same thing. And like I've been successful with TikTok, so I'm gonna pursue that route and everything. I'm surprised someone in my 30s literally got some notoriety on an app made for kids, essentially. I don't know if either of you have been on
awesome, man.
I do enjoy the video that you did with the big booty girl, and then all the black guys followed, and then you off your glasses and you followed behind. That was actually a pretty funny video.
Yeah, well, again, that was another one that some people didn't get the joke because I did it, and they're like, "You're not wearing a red shirt," and like the joke is that I'm dressing extremely white. And I'm following this group of black guys, and I'm sticking out like a sore thumb. Like that's the joke. Like
I got the joke. I mean,
you get some idiots. You get some idiots on the app that I guess a lot of stuff just goes right over their head. But that was fun. That was really
TikTok's
fun.
great in the bathroom. Like I'll go, I could take a shit. I'm like, that's a good 10, 15 minutes of my day. I'll just go on TikTok because the videos are short and sweet, and you can just swipe through them, and you can kind of bang out like 100 videos in 15 minutes, and some are good, some are bad. And then, it's a lot of, like you said, a lot of young girls and stuff. You're really questionable, like,
No, I remember I was about to delete the app because I would just see, like, before it, like, really curated my feed, like, to, like, funny and weird videos and everything. I remember that I would just be seeing, like, a lot of underage-looking girls just dancing, and I'm like, I feel really uncomfortable. And finally, the funny videos started showing up, and then that's when I was like, okay, I think I'll see this app out.
Yeah.
But like, beforehand, all I heard about TikTok was, like, perverts and pedos would go there because that's where like all the kids were at. And so
I know some pervo and pedos who've actually told me about TikTok, and then they were very nervous when the Chinese owned it and they were going to shut it down. They're like, what are they going to do about TikTok? I love
no, now I have to go to Thailand to get those lady boys, you know, like
fucking crazy.
Oh God, yeah.
So we didn't talk much about comedy, and you're a comedian, but like, so how did this pandemic affect you at all? Like, what did you do like to stay relevant? Like, other than
we just started talking about it. TikTok. I didn't think in a million. I was just throwing out videos when I first got TikTok. I was just, you know, I think the first few videos was just me doing dumb shit like at the gym, walking around New York, nothing really, you know, fancy. And then I just thought up these sketch ideas, you know, like what if Cardi B, because there was like a viral audio of Cardi B saying coronavirus, and I was just like, well, what if that was an alarm clock? And I did that, and that started to gain traction. And I was like, oh, could be like an outlet for me to do like skits and sketches and just post vids. And that was enough sort of comedic nutrition for me to survive, especially creatively, because, you know, it was a weird transition because, I mean, I'm sure you guys kind of went through the withdrawals of not being able to go to open mics or shows or anything like that. And, you know, the Zoom mics, I just call like the nicotine patch of comedy.
Yeah.
Shows are terrible. The shows, I mean, there were some shows where I would have fun, but you would just get polite laughter and applause. Like it's not like being on stage and you get that actual laughter and that actual hit.
The non-laughter, which is my favorite part of doing a show, is when no one laughs and people just look at you like an asshole, and I live it and I just keep on feeding off it. I'm like,
wait, was this during Zoom or where or
no? So sometimes in real life when I would do stand-up, this would be the situation where I just get a weird crowd, or it'd be a weird open mic, or I love the open mics where you're holding the crowd hostage when no one knows there's an open mic that night, and all of a sudden you're going up there and good comedy. And then you get the awkward silence and stuff. And that I would feed. Actually, I actually like awkward moments, so that would kind of feed off of that and would really like get me off. But then I did a couple of Zoom mics, and it was just the awkward silence, but it wasn't the same effect. I wasn't getting off on no one knows.
Oh, yeah.
Everyone's mic was muted.
I hated it because there was one that I did. Oh my God, it was probably. I will constitute this as one of the worst shows because like it was like an Instagram live thing, which I'd done before, but the girl who put me on literally was like, I'm going to leave the room and you just do your comedy. And I quickly figured out, like, I'm literally doing comedy for just like nobody, like whoever's on the Instagram, which is just, you know, the viewers on the screen.
Yeah.
And so she left me alone for like 5 minutes while she just did that. And I was just like, what, like my timing was all off. It seems so bizarre. And so that it's comedically, it's certainly a time I do not want to go back to, but you know, I would do mics and things like that. And then when things finally started to open back up, I remember, you know, the first open mic I did in the city, which was at, I don't know if you guys have heard the venue Tiny Cupboard. Have you? Probably.
No,
but that's sort of a new comedy venue that's opened up. Like it just felt like someone injected drugs into me. I just felt incredible. I was like, yes, like I'm finally back in my element doing comedy, doing like what I love. I was doing crowd work and this and that and blowing the light. No kidding. But like, you know, I was doing what I wanted to do. But what were you saying?
Well, I was going to say, when doing Zoom like comedy, it was equivalent to like when I was starting out like years ago, and I would make like a demo reel of me doing comedy in my basement, and you're just telling jokes to a camera, but you're not feeding off the audience and not getting any energy in the room. It's just like, yeah, so I went to the store today and I got blown. And then it's like you sit there and it's like, well, if you work in a crowd, you at least get the feedback of like, all right, where do I go? What direction do I take? How do I make the joke go one way or another? And you don't get that. And it's almost like, and even for acting too, like when you're doing like a demo reel, where you're doing impressions and stuff, and you're sitting there in front of like a screen, and it's like you need, I don't know, stand-up's one of those things where you need the instant gratification, and which you just don't.
Yeah, you need the audience. I mean, you're kind of taking the audience on the ride, but the audience is also kind of, you know, reassuring you that you're doing the right thing, you know. And when you don't have those two elements, it can be a disaster. That's why I'm surprised that, you know, I still see people doing Zoom shows and stuff, but those are, you know, slowly dwindling out, you know, especially as things, because I think we're slated to be fully open by June. So
yeah, so June 15th, we should be back and going up here in Boston. So that's the day of that's the final. June 14th, I am taking my mask and setting a fire to it to never do it again. So it'd be a great day.
And then what's going to happen if we go back into another pandemic? You'll be like,
I have to buy another mask.
How dare you say that?
You know what? I bought
knock on wood. I'm knocking on wood. I knocked on wood, right?
I have more masks in my glove box in my car than any person should ever need. If you took my car and put it into like 1996 and someone opened my glove box, you'd think I was a serial killer of all the masks I had. You know. But Mercer, how can we find you online? Where can we get your gigs or some of your info or website?
Pretty much. I mean, I'm kind of finding my footing again with the stand-up scene in New York. But if I ever do have a gig, I'll certainly post about it. But Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok, I think all is at Mercer Morrison. My full name, all one word, just at Mercer Morrison on all of those. And I'm not really on Facebook that much, so Instagram and TikTok is what I would recommend the most.
Word. Well, thank you for taking some time and joining us today.
Hey, not a problem. This was very fun, guys.
I would enjoy to see you live if we ever get to New York and it's safe again.
Yeah, I mean, you guys have my info. If either of you are ever in New York, just like send me a message and we'll try to work something out.
Sounds like a plan, man. Awesome.
Okay. I got a brother in Jersey, so
there you go.
Might do that.
Hey, there you go. All right, guys.
All right, man. Have a good night. Thank you, man.
Yeah, man. Have a good one.
All right, Mercer Morrison. See, when you have a good guest is if they're a comedian, you don't even talk about comedy for like most of it. You just talk about shit. So there you go. That's how you have a good guest.
We didn't even talk about comedy. We were still going on. I was like, oh shit.
And that's good though, because I'd prefer to do it that way otherwise. Because like if you sit there and it's like, we've had guests in the past where it's just like you're really digging for information. You really can't like riff on anything. Well, we could have probably went another hour if we felt like talking about comedy.
Well, when I changed topics that abruptly with the Charlie Sheen thing, that's when I realized the time.
Yeah, time is everything. We're not great on time, but we're better. We didn't even talk about Maddie in the morning leaving Boston. Like,
no, we didn't. We get to that. I'm sure. I have a feeling like that's the kind of story that might blossom more.
Yeah.
So I feel like that could be a next week. If
you're not familiar, Maddie in the morning was this guy who's been in Boston radio and morning show real briefly, for 40 years and stuff like this, and he's been like a landmark. And he was the reason I got into radio. Him and Stern. Listened to him in the morning growing up, or the reason I wanted to do radio is because I just loved the Maddie in the Morning show. I loved the Howard Stern show. I loved the way they were edgy and they did stuff that other shows didn't. And even in like 2021, Maddie in the Morning was still pushing the edge, even though it was a very commercial radio station. It's a KISS station. They're all around the country, and he was kind of pushing the limits of what he did. And the guy was 71 years old. He's been in forever, and I totally understand 100%. Today in the air, he said, my boss got mad at me last week because I did anti-Trump stuff, and now they're getting mad at me because I'm doing anti-left stuff. And I just can't do my show anymore, and I just don't want to do this anymore. And I totally respect that. That's what kind of Stern said when he went to satellite. He's like, the stations won't let him do the show he wants to do, so I'm going to take it to another platform where I can do the show I want to do. And that's you're right. You should be able to do that. And as you and I both know, terrestrial radio has really been watered down and very censored and very not entertaining, and there's a lot of shitty morning shows. And back in the day, to be on a morning show was like the apex. That was like you were doing a morning show on a major network in a major city. That was it. Everyone wanted to be that spot, and now you just can't do the stuff you want to do. It sucks.
Sure. Well, I mean, on the flip side though, if you have a boss, like you kind of like, I understand what you're saying, but at the same time, if you have a boss and he's like, listen, I want you to do this, and you're like, no, fuck you, I'm going to do this.
See, the only part I have against that is he's been doing X for so many years.
That's the other side of that.
Yeah, yes. And now he wants you to do Z for this many years. And it's like, well, the show was successful. I was number one in the whole market for so many years. Why do you want me to change? That's where I see his argument. You know what I mean? It's not like he was not like his show.
I agree with you on that much, yeah.
So I get both sides of it. I get, the network. A KISS station's a huge moneymaker for the entire country and all the KISS networks. So you got to be nice to all the artists because Demi Lovato might be doing a KISS concert, right? And now you just pissed her off. So now she's not going to do the KISS concert in Boston, and now you're going to lose money and all this. I understand that side of it, but I also understand the creative side of it. And at some point, you got to be like, all right, am I just going to suck it up and do it, or am I going to take my pride and do something else? I mean, he's probably not going to do anything else but it just sucks. But that's the way the world is. It's all about the Benjamins, baby. You know what I mean?
Legacy dies. Yeah.
It's changing time. Well, thank God we have the internet. Thank God we have other avenues to be able to display artistic creativity, which, some people aren't afraid to let go through, so we're probably going to get banned from Facebook for talking anti, whatever. I mean, I think, whatever. Who cares? Fuck it. We're not on the radar. I'm not worried about it.
No, we're not even a blip.
I just think for a bunch of two autistic kids just broadcasting live from their basements. So. All right. Well, that does the show this week. Anything you're pushing, promoting?
You can always check out the War One Potato, or you can come rent Jeff in real life. I keep having to dust this copy off right here.
So all right. What's the one with Steve Carell? It's Something in Real Life.
40-year-old version?
No, but here's a movie. It's called Something in Real Life.
Oh, I know what you're talking about. I see the photo of the fucking post. He's got his head like on a.
Yeah, he's an author, and he meets this girl that ends up being his brother's girlfriend. And it's like, it's Something in Real Life. Let's see.
Jeff, that's fucking Jeff in Real Life. We're behind me.
So I'm not familiar with the Jeff in Real Life because though I'm used to the other one. It's like, it's called Dan in Real Life.
Dan in Real Life. Oh, okay.
So there's a Jeff in Real Life?
Yeah, that's with the guy from Eastbound and Down and Jason Segel from How I Met Your Mother.
And when did this movie come out?
Jeff in Real Life? It's about a guy who lives at home with his parents. He's
2000?
basically Eric.
All right, so that came out in 2011.
It's Eric's life story.
I got to watch this now because Dan in Real Life came out in 2007, and then Jeff in Real Life came out in 2011. And both, I enjoyed Dan in Real Life. Is actually a good movie.
I don't remember how good this movie is. I honestly don't. I have no idea.
You gotta watch it.
I have to watch it again. Maybe I'll do that when I get off this.
There you go. People at home, go. And I got to watch Backdraft, too, because I just seen this YouTube video of the filming locations of Backdraft from 1990. And I forgot that De Niro
never seen it. Add it to my list.
The last time I seen it was on Laserdisc. My dad had rented the Laserdisc of Backdraft because it was you had the HD vision and the surround sound. And that was in 1990. So I think Backdraft came out in 1990, and we got the Laserdisc in like 94. So we're talking almost 20 years ago of some goodness. No, 20 years ago? 30 years ago. Holy fuck, world. Fuck us. We're dead pretty soon. All right, we'll leave it at that. Nice and positive. We'll see you guys next week. Same bat time, same bat channel. See you later, motherfuckers.
Good night, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.